What is up, everybody? I am Mumphy. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, thanks for joining. In today's video, I've got a mod to the truck that will help with future mods down the line. So let's get into this install. So what we're going to be installing today are bed stiffeners, and this is to kind of help with the rigidity of the bed of the truck, so that when I end up putting a bed rack on there and adding weight to it, I'm not going to have to worry too much about the back of the truck with too much flexing or splaying out. The Tacoma beds are composite, so they're not a steel or an aluminum or something like that, so I just kind of wanted to stiffen up the bed just to have a bit more security when I start adding weight to the back of the truck. Now, I went with Lil Bs Bed Stiffeners. Now, there's multiple options out there. I decided to go with Lil Bs because I like the design of theirs. Across the bed, it's more low profile than some of the other ones. I didn't like how some of them looked like they were going to interfere with placing stuff in the bed, and the Lil Bs kind of gives you less interference in that regard. Still, you have tie down points, a good build, so that's kind of why I went with them. Plus, they've got a bottle opener on them, so why not? Alright, let's get into the install. Alright, for this install, we're going to be removing the tail light. We're going to be drilling a couple of holes in the side of the bed here. We're moving the D-ring and this bolt here, so that way we can mount up everything. As you can see on here, there's a couple of holes right here in the middle that will correspond to a couple of holes that we'll be drilling into the bed. And then we'll be mounting this to the bolts on the bottom, and then this one's going to be this 10 mil bolt up at the top. We'll take our impact and we'll take our 10 mil and remove a second from the top bolt and the bottom bolt, so that way we can remove the tail light. Alright, now that we've got the bolts removed, what you want to do is slide your hand in the gap underneath the tail light, and then just kind of grab your fingers around, because the tail light's now kind of loose. And what you want to do is you'll want to kind of jiggle it back and forth, but pull straight back so that the metal tabs that actually line up in here pop off. And then what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and remove all of the bulbs, let that hang off the side. We'll put the tail light in the bed of the truck, because we'll need to get into here for some of the mounting hardware a little later. Alright, next what we'll want to do is we'll want to remove these two bolts, and for that you'll need a Torx bit. This is a T55 Torx bit for the silver bolt. And then you'll need a T40 Torx for the D-ring. We'll be removing a lot of this on the bottom of the D-ring and using the spacer for the new bolt that's going to be replacing the D-ring bolt. We'll get into that later. We'll grab our 10 mil. We'll remove the top bolt on the side of the bed here that lines up with everything else. Alright, now that we have that done, we're going to be needing to mark our holes so that way we can put the bolts in for these two holes. So we'll line up our stiffener and we'll just put our silver bolt back, just so that way we're aligning everything. We'll replace our top bolt here. Alright, now that we have the bottom bolt and the top bolt back in, we're going to take a center punch and we're going to mark where we're going to need to drill on those 2 holes. On that, we'll just put our punch in. Do a second one there. And now we're ready to drill. You can either use a 3/8 bit or a step bit. Now I've got mine marked to the 3/8 size, so that's what I'm going to use. Alright, now that I've got the holes started, I'm going to pull this off and just clean those holes up. Alright, now that I've cut these holes in, I'm going to take a little bit of paint and just touch those up so we don't end up with rust issues. Now that we've got the holes touched up, we're ready to reinstall everything. First we'll go ahead and replace the bed stiffener. And we'll take our hardware that comes with the kit, and there's a short bolt and a long bolt. So there's 2 short bolts are going to be fitted into the holes we just drilled. So you'll want to put the bolt with the washer, run that through, and then on the back side we'll do a washer and then the lock nut. So these are 14mm nuts and bolt. So you'll need to get a 14mm wrench and a 14mm socket. So on the back side you can actually see this bolt where we just drilled the hole sticks through, and it's not going to interfere with anything inside of the taillight housing. So what we'll do is we'll take our washer, put the washer over the bolt, and get the nut started. The other one is actually behind this plate here. So you'll have to reach up once you run the bolt through the hole. You'll have to reach up and find it under this plate. So once again, we'll do the washer first, and then we'll take the nut and get it at least started on there. Once you have it started, make sure that you're using a 14mm socket and you have a 14mm wrench. Now that we've got those tightened down, we can get the rest of the hardware installed. Alright, now we can work on the top bolt. Make sure we get our 10mm back in there. Let's make sure that we're lined up. Alright, now for the D-ring. The D-ring, we'll just need to take a flathead screwdriver so that way we can remove the plastic off of the bottom of this and just work our way around until that comes off. We'll take the washer out, which we won't be using, the lock washer, which we won't be using. We'll just be using the spacer. The old bolt we won't be using, but you can always save it if you ever want to go back to stock. So we'll take our longer bolt, which is replacing that because the stock bolt is now too short now that we've added a little bit of height to the mounting area. So the new bolt comes in the kit, and it's going to be a 16mm socket that fits over that. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to take the spacer, put the spacer on, run that through the top, and then run the washer on the bottom. So just like that. Tighten that down to where it's tight but still allows you to swivel the head there. There might be a different way to do it. Actually, you know what? Let's test it out. Let's see if we'll put the washer on top and the spacer on the bottom. Either way, you're not going to tighten it down all the way down tight, because otherwise you lose the swivel. You're pinching the plastic swivel piece in between the D-ring. So if you want to keep the functionality of the swivel D-ring, just don't go down super tight. Now we've got it fully secured in there We're not going to have flexing on the bed. And we've got a bottle opener on the back. Alright, now that we've got the bed stiffeners installed, let's replace the taillight. So we'll just go back in reverse order, installing the light bulbs. And then remember, we're going to line up our metal nubs to the plastic pieces. And if these do come off with the knob, you can actually push them back in. Mine obviously stayed put. So we'll just line those up and push it back in. Alright, now let's replace the 10 mil bolts on the other side and wrap this install up. Make sure we're solid. And that's the install. Alright, to wrap up on this install, I do like the fabrication that Lil Bs has done on their bed stiffeners. A couple of things to mention. Make sure that you're not tightening down the D-ring bolt super tight, otherwise you lose the swivel ability if you want to keep that as kind of your nice D-ring tie down. The other thing that I kind of ran into was some of the holes didn't line up after getting all the hardware installed. One of them actually did not. It falls back down to the D-ring hole. So I had to grind that out just a little bit more so that I could get the bolt in and lined up. Other than that, Lil Bs did a good job on the fabrication. It's definitely strong steel. I do like that they are kind of lower profile as far as in the bed, so that way they don't interfere with anything if I'm loading up stuff in the truck. And I still have the tie down points. It's also got kind of a hole back behind the bottle opener, which I'm looking forward to using out on the trails. But the hole there, you could probably put a flag or CB antenna, anything like that. Overall, the install, it went well. Fairly simple. You need a couple of different sizes of sockets. So with that, I'm looking forward to now adding on a bed rack and adding some weight and not worrying too much about major flexing on the back end of the truck. Thanks for joining me on this install. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. Hit that like button and please share this out there so that other people looking to install the Lil Bs Fab bed stiffeners, they'll be able to know how to do that. So thanks again. We'll catch you in the next video. Peace.